Let's get more on this and talk to Marina Miron, who is a researcher at the War Studies Department at King's College in London. First of all, thank you so much for joining us, Marina. What are you making of all this? Vladimir Zelensky has said that this represents a massive internationalization of the conflict.
My pleasure. Well, according to the reports, and if we take into account the cooperation treaty that Russia has signed in June this year with North Korea and ratified just last Thursday, I think from Russia's perspective, it is legal and legitimate to use North Korean troops. And interestingly enough, the Russian leadership is being very ambiguous about the actual presence of the troops on Russian territory. So, in a sense, Russia sees that it's having an advantage on the battlefield right now, and it needs a larger push to finish it off. And of course, Russia understands that now it has the ability to negotiate from the position of power. So I think that the way to view it from Russia's perspective, it makes sense because Russia is claiming that foreign fighters are already present in Ukraine and that some weapon systems are being operated by NATO forces. And therefore, why would Russia not have the right to use foreign troops specifically? Because we don't know where these troops would be deployed. And of course, a major escalation in a sense that from Ukraine's perspective, of course, Ukraine is lacking manpower. NATO is not allowing Ukraine to use weapons to strike deep into Russia. On top of that, Ukraine is also lacking military supplies. And for Ukraine, it is certainly bad news, even if in the grander scheme, this is not going to change the picture on the battlefield very much. But this is much more of a political gesture from Russia's side and, of course, also from North Korea's side, because a war in Ukraine is not about Ukraine. It is about the ending the US-led unipolarity for Russia. And therefore, there is a strong sign that it has friends, and these friends are very much willing to support Russia.
Marina, what it also perhaps may result in is the weapons transfer of between South Korea and Ukraine itself, which again brings in a new actor into the whole thing, as well as just North Korea, as we've just been talking about.
Well, absolutely, because South Korea has also relations with Russia. So South Korea is in a very difficult position. On the one hand, it wants to transfer what it calls defensive weapons in form of air defenses to Ukraine. On the other hand, there are speculation that it might even consider transferring offensive weapons, or what one understands as offensive weapons. Now, the whole problem with this North Korean deployment is that those soldiers will be able to see the contemporary battlefield. And from South Korea's point of view, this is bad news, because North Korean army has not seen any conflict since the Korean War, and especially not the contemporary one. So them returning home and getting experience in Ukraine might be a danger. Plus, the increased cooperation between Russia and North Korea, of course, is a sign that the balance of power in that region is shifting.
Marina,
yeah.
I want to get a sense here very quickly. You mentioned Russia coming in and taking a position, looking at all this from a position of power. But what does this move really tell us about the state of the Russian armed forces? And can you tell us a bit about where this war is right now as we head towards the Russian and Ukrainian winter?
Well, right now is actually so as far as the state of Russian armed forces is concerned, it doesn't seem like Russia has the same issue in terms of manpower as Ukraine does. So both sides are sustaining heavy losses. That being said, we don't have actual numbers. There are estimates, and they differ for both sides. Of course, we will not know it from the respective Ministry of Defense reports. That being said, as we see on the battlefield, the push, especially around now Selidove, towards Pokrovsk, around Kupiansk. So what it shows us is that Russia is not running out of manpower. Yes, the Ukrainian forces are still in the Kursk region, and I think strategically, military strategically for Russia, it's actually beneficial to extend the front line. And to keep them occupied there. And from a grander scheme of things, it seems that the Russia is getting closer to achieving its military aims in Ukraine. So the problem in Ukraine is that now there should be another round of mobilization. People are not very much willing to fight. And of course, we have the issue with Western support, especially with the looming US elections, and of course, with the wars in the Middle East, which could spill over potentially. So Russia does see itself in a position of power. And I think that getting North Korean troops is not so much from the military perspective and importance, but more from political and geostrategic.
Marina, thank you so much for joining us. Marina Miron there from King's College University in London. Right. We're going to have a
Thank
look
you for
now.
having me.